Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here and welcome back to a new video on the channel. And today guys, we are going to be continuing my AFL 2023 round previews. In today's video, we are going to be previewing every game of round 21 as well as going through last round 20, and going through a bunch of other things like the ladder now, the ladder at the end of the round, and the Coleman medal race. So of course we start off reviewing the last round, and it was Carlton by 17 points on the Friday night over Collingwood, and that wasn't the only upset of the round. GWS defeated the Dogs by 5 points. Fremantle defeated Geelong by 7 points. Gold Coast defeated Brisbane by 41 points. Sydney defeated Essendon by 2 points. Adelaide defeated Port Adelaide by 47 points. St Kilda defeated Hawthorn by 29 points. Melbourne defeated Richmond by 32 points. And West Coast defeated North Melbourne by 5 points. A poor round for tipping for many in a round which just had upset after upset after upset. So now the round preview does start, and it's the Friday night. This time the Dogs and the Tigers on the Friday night. Huge clash this one is going to be. Of course, the Dogs had a Friday night game around 19. They're getting another one here. But yeah, this time it's going to be up against the Tigers, who do have a bit of a hoodoo at this venue, but I don't believe they've played at Marvel Stadium under Andrew McQualter yet. So this is going to be a really good test because they're there for the next 2 weeks, 21 playing the Western Bulldogs and 22 playing St Kilda. So got a couple of huge games coming up at Marvel Stadium, and these two games will definitely be season-defining games for them. Win both of them, and they are potentially in. They could potentially be in finals. Lose both of them, and they definitely, or you wouldn't be thinking would be in the equation. So it's huge for Andrew McQualter and the Tigers over the next couple of weeks at Marvel Stadium. The Western Bulldogs are in 8th, the Tigers are in 11th, and the Dogs just haven't performed in some big games. And last week was one they really had to win against the Giants and let it slip late after leading by as much as 6 goals or 35 points at one stage in the contest. So huge game this one's going to be Friday night. It could really go either way, but I'm just not quite sure on the Tigers at Marvel Stadium. I think it'll be a really even contest, but just at Marvel Stadium, I think the Doggies win it by 14 points. So now to the first game Saturday, and it's going to be Essendon and West Coast at Marvel Stadium. And Essendon have really slipped away in the last couple of weeks. They've had, of course, I think it was round 18. Yes, it was round 18 and 19, where they had disappointing games against the Cats and the Dogs. And now they need to respond against West Coast, because last week they lost by 2 points. It wasn't their ugliest or worst performance, but it wasn't their best one either. But this week you'd be thinking it should be a relatively simple win over West Coast. But look, West Coast, they defeated North by 5 last week, almost choked a 28-30 point lead at one stage of the game to nearly lose, but they still won it in the end. For West Coast, haven't won since round 2. They get the win. They're in 18th still, though. Essendon, their ladder position, they are in 13th at the moment. They need to win this game, because if they lose this game, it's definitely season over. They've got North next week, but then they've got the Giants and the Pies to come. Very challenging, so they've got to win this game, and I think they will by 63 points. Now to the second Saturday afternoon game. It's going to be at the Adelaide Oval between Adelaide and Gold Coast. This is going to be a bit of an elimination final in a way, because the loser definitely won't be playing finals in 2023, I believe. Both these two sides really had elimination final games last week, and again this week they loom, and this time the loser definitely won't be making finals in my opinion, because Gold Coast are playing Carlton as one of their teams, and Sydney is another one of their teams in the run home, and Adelaide are playing Brisbane at the Gabba. So you'd be assuming they can probably only lose one of those games, if they can lose any at all. So they've got to win this one, and it's Adelaide 12th, Gold Coast 14th. It's going to be a huge battle here at the Adelaide Oval on a Saturday afternoon. Now, Adelaide, look, last week in the showdown, brilliant win, amazing win over a really good side in Port Adelaide, and they're very good at the Adelaide Oval. Only dropped, I believe, 2 games there this year against Richmond and the Giants. And, well, Gold Coast, last week it was a brilliant win in the Q Clash against the Lions. A really good win against a really quality opponent. They did a really good job, and King found some form. Now, at the Adelaide Oval, this is Adelaide's home ground. I think they're just going to get the win by 17 points in a great game. Now to the Saturday twilight game, the MCG between Hawthorn and Collingwood. And it is Hawthorn in 16th, Collingwood in 1st. The Saturday twilight game, I said, the MCG. And Collingwood last week, look, it wasn't their best performance against Carlton. Carlton really did bring the heat, though. They brought the pressure, they brought the intensity, and they managed to find the way to beat Collingwood. There is a way to beat them, and that is exactly the way, putting pressure on them and all that, and doing all those things which Carlton did perfectly last week is what helps you to beat Collingwood. And Hawthorn, there's also a way to beat them. James Sicily, you shut him down and you can win the game. So their best forward will obviously be going to James Sicily, and look, they're going to have to. They're going to want to shut down James Sicily, and even though I do still feel like Collingwood will get a really nice win here by 55 points, of course, the main key to stopping Hawthorn is nullifying James Sicily, which I believe is a good side. They can do that and get the comfortable win by 55, as I said. Saturday night, Geelong v Port Adelaide is a Super Saturday night, really. Two huge games, and the first one being Geelong and Port Adelaide at GMHBA Stadium. Now, they're going to be without Hawkins and Blitzarves for this game are Geelong, or at least I believe, unless they make a brilliant recovery really quickly. And Port Adelaide, they're not coming into this game under great form. They've lost their last three against Carlton, Collingwood, and Adelaide. And Geelong, they lost last week to Freo in Geelong as well, which wasn't great. And of course, have those two injuries. So if Port Adelaide can do exactly what Fremantle did last week, I reckon they can beat Geelong. I genuinely reckon they can. And Geelong is a very tough place to go and play if you're an interstate team. Freo have done it twice in 2 years now, and they've really shown that, they are a good side at GMHBA. Freo, and that they've found the ways to beat Geelong. So if Port Adelaide can do exactly what Fremantle did, which should be, for a great game of footy, you'd definitely be hoping that they would have sat down and watched that vision. That they probably would have sat down and watched that vision and saw what Fremantle did in trying to replicate that. You can't change the game plan in a week or anything, but just some slight little changes. Now, I actually believe Port Adelaide can get the job done here. I reckon they will go to Geelong and get the job done. So I reckon they'll get the job done by 2 points. This 9th versus 2nd, this game is huge for Geelong's finals hopes and huge for Port Adelaide's top 2 hopes. But I reckon they go down to Geelong, get the win, and maybe just prove some of the doubters a little bit wrong, I reckon. Because I reckon they can go down there and get this win. So now Saturday night as well is GWS versus Sydney at Giants Stadium. And, well, oh boy, what a monster clash this is. The Sydney Derby, Battle of the Bridge. And, well, we all know what happened. We all know what happened last time. It was that Toby Green match winner to beat the Swans by 1 point at the SCG, and now it is at Giants Stadium. It is the Giants' home venue where they've been pretty good this year, and I definitely do believe they do have what it takes to get the win there. They've won 7 games in a row now. They're in 6th spot. They've catapulted so high up onto the ladder now, and are definitely a genuine chance of playing finals football. Not just that, but getting a home elimination final, which would be huge. But they've still shown they can win anywhere around the country. And Sydney, their season is slowly slipping away. They're in 10th spot, and they definitely need to get as many wins as they possibly can. So what a huge clash this is going to be. And look, I believe that the Giants will get the job done at Giants Stadium. I reckon they're going to be a little bit too strong, and I reckon they're going to go ahead and get the win by 8 points. So now we go to Sunday football, and the first game's at Blunston Arena between North Melbourne and Melbourne. Melbourne, they've unleashed their scoring in the past couple of weeks. They've been able to score really high scores over 100, which comfortably makes me think they're going to win this game. I reckon they'll smash 17th place North Melbourne, who weren't the greatest last week, by 75 points. I believe their scoring is a real threat. I believe they have the versatile players that can go down there and play really well as a forward or a defender. They can kind of shake it up, show they need to, which gives them this handy 75-point win, in my opinion. Sunday, Channel 7 game is St Kilda Carlton at Marvel Stadium. Huge game, this one is going to be. Carlton, they're on a surge. They are really on a surge. They are really, really, really on a surge here, the Carlton Footy Club. And St Kilda, well, look, one thing is for certain, they need this win as well. Hawthorn last week, they nullified James Sicily. They got the job done, and they finally scored a big score. They can't go back to scoring low again this week, but it very well could potentially be the case against a very good Carlton outfit. We compare the two sides, Hawthorn and Carlton, and they are on different levels, and that's what will make me think that Carlton will be able to get the win here. I reckon Carlton win the game by 20, it's 5th versus 7th, so as I said, huge game, and I reckon Carlton get a huge win for their year and win by 20 points. Final game of the round is at Optus Stadium, and it's a bit of a 50-50 game, Fremantle and Brisbane in Perth. Now, it's Fremantle 15th versus Brisbane 3rd, and one team is coming off of a really good win, and one team's coming off of a really poor loss. And Harris Andrews was nullified last week in Brisbane's poor loss to the Gold Coast Suns. And, well, Fremantle, their defence was really good. In fact, their whole ground was really good against Geelong last week. They were really good. And it does believe a few people to think they can get the job done here. It is at Optus Stadium, so it does give them a little bit of a helping hands. But look, I reckon Brisbane needs to get the win here. I don't think they're going to do anything fancy. I don't think they're going to blow Fremantle away or out of the water. But I think they're just going to get a very tight and very close 24-point win. I think they'll be able to get it a little bit more away late. But I think it'll be a very good game. Tips for the round: Western Bulldogs by 14, Essendon by 63, Adelaide by 17, Collingwood by 55, Port Adelaide by 2, GWS by 8, Melbourne by 75, Carlton by 20, and Brisbane by 24. So later now, here it is at the moment. So Collingwood are in first, Port Adelaide are in second, and Brisbane are in third after three of the top four teams failed to get a win. Melbourne were the winners, and the major ones over the weekend, they tie level with Brisbane. And should Port Adelaide lose on a Saturday night, it could very well allow Melbourne to go up into second or third, depending on Brisbane's result. But you'll be assuming they'll be getting a heavy win. So if they do lose, then if Melbourne do win, regardless of whether Brisbane win, they will go into second if Port Adelaide do lose. St Kilda and the Giants are on 44 points, and that St Kilda Carlton game is going to be huge because Carlton are in 7th on 42. The Dogs just hanging in there on 40 points, and if they lose this round, it is almost surely they'll get overtaken. Well, in fact, it is a certainty they would overtake because Richmond would take their spot if they lose, and there's also Geelong and Sydney, which could potentially overtake as well. Adelaide, they are getting closer as well. Shall the Dogs lose, they can also overtake them as well. Their season's in the hunt if they still win. But if Gold Coast win, then they'll leap up somewhere into this 9th, 10th-ish region. Same for Essendon because their percentages are poor and wouldn't be enough to jump up into the top 8. And plus, if the Dogs were to lose anyway, the Tigers would be in the 8, or one of the Cats or Swans, depending. And then Fremantle, realistically, their season's not alive, but they can still play spoiler. And there's Hawthorn, North and West Coast at the moment. After the round, this is what I think the ladder will look like. I think Collingwood will, of course, extend their lead. Port Adelaide will get the huge win. Melbourne will jump skip Brisbane on ladder on percentage. The Giants will be clear 5th. Carlton will be in 6th. The Dogs will get that reassuring win to go into 7th. St Kilda only just in 8th at the moment, with Adelaide and Essendon right at their feet in 9th and 10th. Then Geelong slipped down to 11th, Sydney slipped down to 12th, and Richmond slide down to 13th. Gold Coast in 14th, Fremantle in 15th, Hawthorn, North and West Coast rounds off the ladder. But we can see there's some huge games this round. And now, as we do to finish off the round previews, we go to the Coleman medal race. And, well, Adelaide still do play West Coast one more time this year, but Charlie Curnow and Taylor Walker recorded big bags over the weekend to be the only two left in the Coleman medal race, in my opinion. I don't think anybody else will be able to win it from here. Charlie Curnow, who's on 67, kicked, I think it was a bag of 6 against Collingwood, and Taylor Walker, who's on 61, kicked a bag of 7 against Port Adelaide. But look, the Crows do still play West Coast one more time. That might be all Taylor Walker needs to win the Coleman medal. Otherwise, it'll be Charlie Curnow's. We have a really good round of footy coming up. Thank you guys so much. Well, we have a really good round of footy coming up. Some huge games in here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please do make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. See you guys in the next video on the channel. Thank you guys so much. This is Brian. Flame Footy out.